Hello, and I'm finally back. Unfortunately, we tried to go live earlier and everything just messed up. There was, it was problems with the program that we used to go live. At, uh, in the end of the day, I think it was my fault. I think I ended up uh, changing a few settings when I was messing about with it before another stream that we did, and yeah, it was just a bit of a pain. But we're back, and hopefully all is working perfectly this time. So, to those who tuned in earlier at 1 o'clock, thank you. And for everyone that tuned in to me and Graham's last stream, thank you as well. It was some crack. So basically today what we're going to do is we're going to be doing a mix rundown of a SuperSoaker track. SuperSoaker are a band, an indie band from stretching from Belfast to sort of Dungannon direction. And I worked with them to. We initially set out to do 2 demo tracks in the studio, and then coronavirus and stuff was all that hit, and obviously we knew that we weren't going to have time to be in the studio to take these tracks and redo them and stuff like that. So we just thought, let's try our best to work on it and see what we can do with the tracks. And it ended up working out quite well. So win-win for everyone. So basically, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to play the track for everyone, if let you have a listen to it, and then we're just going to go through everything individually and answer any questions that anyone has. Hopefully people ask questions. We don't really do these kind of things, so I'm not expecting too many people to come in and ask questions, but it's a bit of crack, and it keeps me busy during this lockdown. And yeah, so let's just run through the track, let you all have a listen to it, and yeah, enjoy.
Night.
Yes, so that was SuperSoaker, a band that uh, are very new on the scene, but are starting to make some waves. Um, yeah, so the track is it's quite interesting. There's quite a lot of stuff going on as well. Um, as you can hear, there's a lot of synth stuff going on. The track is very much made up of what's going on with the bass and drums during those verses, and then in the chorus, that big synth that's just driving that melody all the way. Uh, so, as a standard track, very standard to what I do, is I like to start off with what we call a shadow track or scratch track or anything along the lines of that. And I lay that down first. And, hello, Graham. So, lay down the shadow track first and basically go from there. That gives a solid rhythm normally for the drummer to play along, and that's recorded along to a click. And more or less after the drummer does his part, then it's gone, it's muted. As you can see, uh, it's all switched off anyway. Um, in this instance, we just put down a guitar track, and then from there, the drummer can play along to that. So, if we take a little listen to the drums. Oh, just realised that knocks me off. So if we take a little listen to the drums by themselves, now this is the drums processed. As you can hear, the drums are they're very tight sounding, but as well as that, there's quite a lot of air going on in them. It is kind of it's the process that I take. I like a very tight drum sound. Uh, as I was saying, these tracks were originally meant to be just demos, so we didn't really set out to make this the next best thing. But then it just so happened that we did make the next best thing. Uh, but as you can hear, the drums, they're really tight, but they've got a lot of air still in them, and most of that is just from the room mics and stuff that are set up. You can take a look here. So we've got our overheads left and right. They're just set up they were set up in a space pair. I'm not even too sure what the mics were. I think they were Rode NT something. Um, and they're all sent into a group, which runs through a SSL channel strip and waves the API compressor. Just take a listen to them by themselves, maybe. Am I still here? Yes. So you can hear straight away that the overheads, I've more or less took all that bottom end out of it. And that's really key in the style of mixing that I'm going for there. Because I don't want all that bottom end, all the bottom end in these kind of tracks, or what I was going for, all that bottom end is made up from the kick, bass, and likes of some of the synths and stuff. There's some bottom end synths and stuff you'll hear later on. So I end up pulling. You can even see in the EQ I've put on high pass there, pulled most of that out, and even in this, there's quite a lot of the low end being pulled out, and the compressor. This is a great compressor. The API compressor by Waves, basically based on the 2500 API. But I'm running nothing too crazy there, but I'm trying to pull in quite a lot of those transients and stuff for the overheads. Then let's move on to the snare. So we have snare top and bottom. Top and bottom, yeah, on this specific track was 57 top, 57 bottom. Both lined up as perfect as I can possibly get it. Let's take a listen to the snare. Let's go somewhere slightly more busy. Pre-chorus going into that. So the snare is then going through, it's actually going to a gated reverb sound, and as well as that, then it'll actually be going out to the drum group, and the drum group actually has a reverb sound on that as well. But I'll get to that slightly later. So the snare is going through first a gate. It's just a simple gate from Cubase, and then once again the API. Love the API, and then it's going into this Magneto 2. This is just one that Steinberg actually has built in. It is really great for just adding a bit of what do you call it, tape saturation into something like that. It's just nice to have that little bit of saturation going on the snare. It just adds little more harmonic content to it. I just love firing in these like really interesting words in here. And then obviously once again pulled out a lot of that messy low end, and then gone through it and pulled out a few sort of problematic frequencies that I'm not too keen on. There's very little tom action in this entire song. The toms are literally just sitting there for little fills that Graham does. As you can see, as you can see, there is literally only maybe 2 times, 3 times at the most, excuse me, that Graham even uses the toms. We'll take a quick listen to them now. And honestly, they're just there for. There's just certain times in the song, going between sections there, going into the solo. There's just a little bump, and they're just, you know, really hard gates on them, and they're really hard gates and tightly compressed, and then going into reverb sends to give that big sort of more like an effect going on, because it's literally just like 2 hits, dun dun. Then let's move on to the kick drum. So with the kick drum, we had a kick drum mic inside. So it was I'm going to say D112 because it sounds like something I'd do. D112 inside the kick drum, and then we had a sub kick going on as well. If you're not too familiar with the sub kick is no, you can buy them from Yamaha and stuff like that, where it is actually it looks like a wee drum, but it's actually a speaker, and it's a speaker that has been wired backwards to receive signal instead of obviously send signal. And it's a really cool thing for picking up really low frequencies. I have one that I made myself that isn't really that good, but you can make it good then post by well, I'll show you here in a minute. So this is the kick. This is both the kicks together. this is just the sub. So as you can see, I've pulled all that high end out, pulled a bit of the messy sort of subs that were happening there. Fired this great plugin by Waves. It's the Renaissance bass plugin. You'll hear the difference. I'll get them both on here. So if you hear the difference when I take it off, it sounds. It's just a lovely plugin to add those sort of sub frequencies, but it's not like EQ, and it's I haven't really looked too much into it, but it works on like harmonics and stuff within that. But take a listen. That's with it on. That's with it off. Maybe if you're listening on your phone or something, you probably can't hear that, but when that's pumping through, like I said, speakers or something, you can really tell when that's on, when it's not on. But yeah, the kick drum is we tried to match it fairly well with the bass, especially for when the verse comes in, because the verse is very dependent on the drums and bass, because apart from that and some low synths and a little bit of sort of guitar chords that are going in the background, they're the main thing happening. We also fired a hi-hat mic in. Hi-hat mics are something that I never really bothered with for a long time, until very recently. Because I just feel they add sort of like an extra dynamic to the track almost. You can hear when you have a hi-hat mic in, as well as adding obviously that separation and all that kind of stuff. It almost adds, like, when there's a lot of hi-hat action going on, adds a lot of like feel and movement and stuff to the track. Once again, I'm using a lot of what's going on, spot mics, and then the overhead is bringing in a lot of the character to the kit, and then the room mic as well. The room mic is then bringing in what all's going on in the room. The room mic, as you'll see in a minute, is going through a lot of processing to get some really cool sounds, but the hi-hat mic isn't really picking up much, but when it gets added into the mix, it can be nice, Let's find a section with it. Yeah, so very low in the mix, but it just gives that extra little bit going on. Now onto the room mic. So the room mic has a lot of processing going on, which is why it's fairly low in the mix compared to everything else. And then it's going through a distortion plugin as well. So this is the Mani distortion, and it's just great. It is a fantastic plugin, and you'll hear it's crushing the crap out of that room mic, but it's bringing up quite a lot of the mad acoustics and stuff going on in the room. Now this was recorded in it was a very long room but very low ceiling, so there's a lot of action going on in the room, a lot of bouncing and stuff with sounds, and that's mainly what I wanted to capture. I wanted to capture a lot of stuff going on. The room mic is going to sound crazy on its own, and once again there's the API 2500, but here it is. You can hear how crushed and everything. Even I think if we just go into the API, yeah, you can see how mad I got that going there. So a lot of stuff being crushed and squashed in there, and that's really to bring out as many of those transient hits and stuff. So then when it's slowly brought in, it's kind of a like a compression kind of thing. Well, there's a compression, but I can't even remember the name of it now at the moment. It's not multi-band compression. It's the other one. That's name has escaped me, but it'll pop into my head in about 5 minutes, or maybe when I'm done the stream, and then I'll have to type it in. But it's kind of doing something along that, but with the distortion on, then it's giving you that more like crushed sort of sound. It's hard to explain, but that's kind of the sound that I'm trying to go for there. So it's just here once again, the whole kit. And those beats are brought to us by our very own Graham McKinstry, who's drumming for SuperSoaker. But yeah, so that's the kit. Then the overheads, left and right overheads, are being sent to an overhead stereo bus, and then same with the snare, top and bottom are being sent to. It's mainly just so I can group the whole things together when I'm moving levels and stuff, and then everything's sent into the final drum bus, and it's just got very light compression on it, and then it's sent to another API here, and that's just a send that I've got going on, so I can just slowly send it over to that to push more of those transients, just if I don't think the drums are cutting enough. As you can see, it's not sending too much, and then it's sent to like a master drum reverb sense. Now the way I've got the reverb sense set up is slightly different. So I've got this IR Live from Waves, and I've got the Manny by Waves as well, and they're two separate reverbs set fairly similar, both set to the hall setting. Yeah, so they're both set to just a medium hall, and then one is panned all the way hard left and the other one is panned all the way hard right. And that's just to give sort of very widespread reverb sound. Now, once it goes in and is sent over to it, it's you can blend it in as much as you want. But no, they're the drums. As you can hear, a lot of compression and stuff going on to get a really tight drum sound. The room begs a lot to that as well. The room added quite a lot of sort of that tight sound that you're hearing. But yeah, it really, really suits this track. But yeah, let's move on to the bass. Now, the way I normally like to mix is I will, kind of the same way that I record. I'll record the drums first, then the bass, then the guitars, then if there's any sort of synth keys, percussion, anything like that, that'll go on after, and then vocals at the very end. So that's normally so the vocalist is performing to a full track and not to like bits and pieces of a track, if you know what I mean. And I kind of like to mix the same way as well. I like to start off with the drums, get the drum sound right, and then add everything to that after. So let's take a listen to the bass. whenever we recorded this, it was initially recorded with it was DI and a mic channel. As you can see, the DI is the only one that we end up keeping in the mix. Uh, that's because we end up going for a slightly different sort of bass sound, as you can obviously hear. The main thing going on with the bass here is now we're recording it with a, well, it wasn't a Fender, but it was a, or maybe it was a Mexican Fender. I can't remember, but it was a jazz bass. A lot of high end going on, a lot of like upper mids. So as well as scooping out quite a lot of that high, we wanted to pull out the upper mids just to take away that like sort of clanky sound you get from it. Really good for rock music and stuff, but not very good for this kind of music when you just sort of want like a it's more like a subby sort of sound going on the bass. And all I'm using really here is just the Chris Lord plugin. I absolutely adore this plugin. I use it literally for all bass tracks that I work with. This is from the Chris Lord collection on Waves, and it is fantastic. No idea why this is shooting up here. This is just looking a bit funny, but you know, you've got a few settings here. You have loads and loads of presets whenever you buy it, but honestly, get it and just mess around with it. Even the distortion section, that growl and roar, even the rip setting, it sounds like you can imagine with a name like Rip. It just racks the sound of the bass, and it's great. I love it. But this is honestly most of the processing that I do on a bass now is get this plugin into it, and that's really it. So the sort of funny sound you're hearing is the pitch section here. It's set to a chorus. It's making that sort of warbly chorusy sound going on through it, and as you can hear from the track is very sort of how do you say, like, sort of not psychedelic, but there's that sort of, you know, cool sort of psychedelic ease that I'm just going to call it psychedelic sound to it, and that bass sound with the chorus on really sits in the mix well with the drums. Like, it is, I'm a bass player, so you know, I know it's a bit boring to listen to just bass sometimes. So if you listen to the verse here with the drums and bass, it just complements each other very well. Yeah, so as you can hear, especially in that verse, like the drum, I can't push any more than I really am, but during the verse, those drums and bass is what is pushing that section. Well, the drums push the whole track, but specifically, oh, have we dropped out? Hello? And we're back. Dropped out there for a second, don't know what happened. Probably my crappy internet. Once again, I will say, if you have any questions, I have the comments up here, so hopefully I can answer everything as best as possible. If you have anything, and as quick as possible. So yeah, let's move on to the guitar. So, wait till I open this folder. There's a lot going on the guitar here. Yeah, so as you can see, we have a lot of guitar tracks going on. Uh, that's probably a mix of my fault and the guitar player William's fault. But I'm a big guy for recording a lot of guitar tracks. Uh, let's just play them all and let you hear what's going on because there's a lot. So let's just stop there. We'll probably just go section by section because there's so much going on here. So just in the intro there is the two main guitar tracks. They are everything was recorded through, if I'm correct, a Vox AC30 with Aston Origin as the main mic. I'm almost sure that is right. So basically, in the intro there's the two main guitars, these two. So they're running into. Let me just see here. So this is just them by themselves. So they're just running in here, and they obviously have run a bit of compression on them, scooping out all that low end. That's a big thing with guitars. A lot of people don't realise is there's a lot of low end in guitars that isn't necessarily needed to be there during the mix. Pushing sort of that 1K region there, and this is just sort of me pulling out some mad problematic frequencies that are happening during recording, especially when you record with overdrive and distortion and stuff. You get all that, and then they're being looped into a group track and pulled out a few more frequencies. Normally when you stack tracks on top of each other, you get this sort of weird thing going on where the harmonics overlay, and then when the harmonics overlay you get like a boost in certain frequencies, so then you try and pull them down as best you can, and then sent obviously to the main track reverb that I'm working here. And then we have separate stabs there, so they're just the wee stabs you hear at the very start. Here. Yeah, so that's just them wee stabs there. We have a few other guitar tracks and stuff. We're not going to go through everything. But yeah, so they're sort of like a main sort of lead track going on. And then we've got our sort of, there's a wee track going on here in the verse. It's like a small picking rhythm throughout it. And then those lead guitars do like a upstroke chord type thing going on as well. Take a listen. So you can hear that picking sort of rhythm going on there. Most of that's all done through pedals and stuff, through delays, reverb pedals, modulation pedals and stuff. Nothing too crazy going on for that. We've pulled out quite a lot of the low end, trying to get that sort of more like a, not a megaphony sound, but sort of that everything scooped out of the low end sound. Kind of hard to explain, but it's more for like a background effect going on the whole track. So then we move on then to the chorus. So as you can see, the chorus is made up. There's quite a lot of guitars on here. So there's actually 4 guitar tracks, main rhythm guitar tracks playing the rhythm. some people would call that, it's like a technique called quad tracking. It was originally meant to be only two guitar tracks, and then we listened back to it and we were like, that needs beefed up. So we added the synth in, and even that wasn't sort of cutting the mustard, as they say. So we went in and added another two guitar tracks. We'll take a listen to that. There's also these wee lead guitar bits coming in here, doing like a sort of like a pecking thing to bring us in. So as well as those four tracks just sort of crunching along there, that's just sort of, they're just there to beef up the whole thing. There's a lot going on, so they're just there just to more to make like a wall of sound, so you notice that there's a lift going on there. But in the background of that, you can hear like a little motif of what is the main melody of that section. It's actually being played on the synth, but we've done like a little guitar track as well that sort of complements that. I'll see if I can get this on here. Yeah, so take a listen. Yeah, so that's the little sort of motif that I mentioned. The that da, 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 that will actually, that's the main melody that's played then on the synth that you'll hear later on. But we just sort of, I think that was actually added in before the synth, and then we found out that the synth would be the main instrument to play that. But yeah, then we go back to the verse and goes chorus again, and then it gets really interesting here. And it goes into like a middle eighth sort of section, and a lot of mad stuff starts happening. Let's just play it. Let you hear it. Oh, now we need to solo these. Da-dum. Yeah, so that's something that kind of happened very much by just messing around. It's like that police siren kind of sound that's going on there. Um, and then there's those like different octaves doing the dun 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 dun. That all kind of happened very much by mistake, especially the police siren sound. It was just complete mess about, and we end up getting something half decent. Let me just play them by themselves. Wrong channel. We'll play these stabs here first. That was the track I just played there now. That's those. So that's what it was originally meant to be, and then we went and added in these few bits here. That just sounds great, I think. So that's the main one, and then there's this sub. It's just to put into the wave sound shifter and pull an octave down. Let's just take a quick listen through them all because I'm not too sure. So I think that is just down the octave on the guitar. Yeah, so they're just a double track of the octave down the guitar, and then we have the sub brought down. That just sounds rotten thick. That just sounds class, in my opinion. Yeah, it really just beefs up that section because it lacked so much when we recorded at the start. We didn't really know what was going to happen here, and that just really beefed the whole thing up. And then for the siren is just madness. It was done. So we had an analog flanger pedal, I think, or phaser. I'm not even too sure. It belongs to me, but I'm not too sure. And then we had the modulation setting on a reverb pedal, and then we also had an analog delay that we were messing with while recording, and we got this mad sort of sound. Everything just sort of banged into place. Just sounds crazy, like, but we put it in the section and it worked and it sounded great. But yeah, there's a lot going on guitar wise in this track, but it was just a case of basically EQing as you go and getting everything to sit nice in the mix. There's a few other bits and pieces. There's a wee bit of lead guitar there, but they're just sort of, as you can hear in that wee section, just. Yeah. So, as I say, a lot going on in the track, guitar wise, but like there's the guts of about 20 guitar tracks, all doing different things. Obviously, not all stacked on top. So then we'll move on to the synth stuff. So there's a few main synth stuff that's happening here, as you can hear. We'll just play it all through here. So that's just sort of the main thing that's sort of lying beneath everything in the intro. Pulled out a lot of this, added that sort of tremolo effect on it as well. And added the R bass in as well. And then just did some reverb just here with everything. so it sounds very bland then without anything. Then add the tremolo and stuff, just sort of adds movement to the track. Then pull that out, makes it not as harsh and that's sitting down. And then add that R bass just to add sort of like a sub effect. And then because the tremolo's there, it adds that sort of to the low end as well. Makes the low end just sort of move with the track. And then there's the verse. It really just has a very low sort of synth along it. So it's just very low in the mix, not doing much. Lots of reverb on it. And then being pushed into a medium high gain. Most of the low end all pulled out, and a sort of 2K region as well, just so it's not fighting with the vocal tracks. Then we move on to the chorus. So the chorus is sort of kind of where it all happens for the synth. The synth is pushing the track in the chorus. Just take a listen. You hear sort of that melody line that we were talking about before. And I think we have 2 octaves of that going on there. So we have this one. And then this. On headphones or anything like that, you'll hear that they're slightly panned apart just to give that sort of spread and trying to make them sound more like a stereo synth rather than 2 separate tracks. So then it's pretty much that until we hit the bridge and the solo section here. Once again, accenting those sort of notes, da 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 da. And then it just goes into the solo section then, where it's just something similar to what's going on in the verse and intro. Just something lying under. And that was sort of put in there to emphasize that lift that went from like sort of like a minory thing that's going on during the bridge till that lift of it going to major again. And it just sort of lifts the whole track up. So yeah, not much really going on the synth stuff. The synth is mainly doing its job sort of in the background, filling out the track, and then in the verses, it's or in the choruses, sorry, it's pushing that melody line, and it's really just trying not to make it fight too much with the vocals. Pulling out a lot of the low end that you sort of do get in synths, especially synths like that. They tend to have a lot of low end going on that can very easily mess up your mix. So yeah, so we're really just left. I'm gone. And what have I done? I've lost myself. Yeah, so really apart from that, we just have the vocals. Oh, what's happening here? Yeah, thought we were dropping it again there. yeah, so it's really just the vocals left then to look at. So we have a lot of harmonies and sort of falsetto kind of things going on here, different sort of effects that happened. Let's take a look here, going from the verse.
Said you were a leader, telling me that it was suicide, and that I should run and hide. My back is broke from thinking I was better off by your side, laced in formaldehyde.
So that's the verse. As you can hear, it's very sort of like a mysterious sort of sound going on, whispery almost. We'll just take a listen here. So this is the main sort of track.
Said you were a leader, telling me that it was.
So it's going into. We've got a bit of waves tune on there. That's not necessarily because the vocals are bad and needed tuned. It more to tighten up sort of those notes going up, and the singer Williams sort of normally. It's not that he can't reach the notes. It's maybe that the sort of the length up to the note just needs to be tightened up a little bit. As you can see, it's not really on there, really on 64% when it is on. And it gives that when the harmonies are coming on as well, it sort of helps with that. It's almost like a sample sort of. It's hard to explain when the harmonies come on. It sounds more like a chord and stuff rather than just random voices singing random notes. It's just trying to get that sort of interesting sound going on. Once again, run into the API and then run into the Heats delay by Waves. As you can tell, I enjoy Waves plugins. Run in a very low sort of reverb there with the low pass pulled down a bit, just to sort of take away some of that the stuff that's going on in that region, and then obviously going into the reverb, and then underneath that we have a harmony as well. Just take a listen to the harmony by itself.
Said you were a leader, telling me that it was suicide, that I should run and hide.
So that's once again just going into a bit of Waves tune and reverb and compression, and then together just mix that sort of ghostly kind of sound going on.
Said you were a leader, telling me.
It's almost something you wouldn't even hear in the track when you're listening to it. Just sort of adds that sort of ghostly effect to it all. Then we have harmonies and stuff going on as well. As you can hear, Graham sort of doing them.
My back is broke from thinking. Your side, laced in formaldehyde.
Yeah, so all those wee harmonies and stuff sort of add to the whole feel of the track. Then we go into the chorus. The chorus has a few harmonies as well. Well, when I say a few, there's 4 harmonies and the main one. Let's take a listen.
She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night. She hit me like a wave in the summer.
Did anyone hear the little cough in there? Now this track has been released, and this is the release thing, and I still never noticed that cough until now. Um, that's quite funny. So, we have like a Led Zeppelin kind of moment there. We've got a track released with a little cough in the middle. Must go back and actually hear if you can hear it in the final one. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there. A lot of harmonies. Let's take a listen to the main one.
She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night.
Yeah, so sort of main process again. We have the waves tune, compressor, got our delay, but we're going into this vocal rider by Waves. It's kind of like a compressor, but it kind of works on like an automation-y kind of thing, where it basically acts as like a fader turning up and down. You sort of set your high point and your low point, and it doesn't go beyond them. But it acts more like it's basically like a more natural version of sort of hard compression, or it's sort of automated version instead of going in and drawing in automation to a track. And then it's being pushed into another. It's the thing I was talking about earlier on, the compression that I can't remember the name of. Uh, but basically, it's being pushed into that to add a few more sort of hard transients into it to make it push through the mix a lot better. Then we have a few harmonies.
She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night.
So we have that one too. Waiting for William to come on and like shout at me here. And then we have this.
Hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night.
So as you can hear when I play them all together, like there's parts where it's making like big sort of almost block chords, like being played on a synth or something, and that sort of like pushes through in the track along with everything else, and it just sounds great. And that's sort of what I'm using that Waves tune for. It's just to sort of emphasize those wee bits and to, yes, correct a few tiny bits that needed corrected, but as well to emphasize on those sections. Here's the two harmonies together.
She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night.
And then I think we have a few harmonies from the other guys in the band.
She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. Night.
And yeah, I think there's one more for Graham.
Night.
It's just a
Night.
And all together now, boys, with a bit of feeling.
She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night.
And some of those, it's very weird because when I was mixing this, I was like, this isn't going to work. There's a lot of harmonies going on here that just don't sound like they work. And I think that's, it's once again a big mistake a lot of people make, and I made it loads of times too. And it's when you like solo things and mix them all individually, and like don't sort of. There's a few sort of mixing techniques people go on about where you just like fire all the faders up and start moving things and adding effects and stuff like that on. My way is I mix the drums to the way I think it should suit the track, and then I start adding the bass in, and I'll mix the bass so it suits the drums, and then I'll mix the guitars after that so they suit the bass and drums, and this sort of leads to everything sitting a lot better together instead of just like mixing everything individually and going, oh, that sounds nice that way, that sounds nice that way, and then turning all the feeders up and wondering why you can't get a good level because nothing's really sitting right together. And this sort of happened with the vocals where I didn't think these harmonies and stuff were going to work until I put them in the track and realised they do work. They work great. So there's nothing else too crazy going on apart from in the bridge here, where there's some mad effects in the vocals, if I remember rightly.
You can see me if I can't see you, even if I wanted to.
And that sounds mental. That just sounds crazy. But in the track, it just, I don't know, it just works so well. It's almost the exact same process, but the very end. And I made sure to put this at the very end, not the start or not straight after the tune or anything like that, because actually I wanted the distortion after the delay so that the actual delays of the voice were being distorted as well. Once again, it's I would say his surname, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Manny Marroquin or something. But it's his distortion. Drive set fairly high, pulled the distortion level down, the direct level up a little bit, and pulled out the treble and bass and just left the mids going on. And that gives us that mad sort of sound that we've got going on in there.
You can see me if I can't see you.
After that, after every single one of them, you hear the distortion on each delay. Sorry, I got really distracted there because I just got a message on Facebook saying something very mad from Ivan Flack. You know who you are. And then below that, we have the harmonies as well.
You can't see me if I can't see you, even if I wanted to.
Some lungs, and I'm not like History Boy. But yeah, you can hear them on there. That's mainly, or that is, it's just both Graham. So let's see here. I think that is it for everything. Because it just goes back into that again and back into the chorus for the outro of the tune. But yeah, this was a really cool track to work on. Really in the studio, all we got down was the drums, bass, and some of the guitar, and then it was fairly close to the day that we were told that lockdown was going to happen and stuff. Me and William met up and we had a few more guitar tracks and started trying to put a few things down, and then we were able to get vocals and other tracks and stuff sent remotely, and that sort of worked out for the whole thing. There's Ivan Flack finally watching now after sending me some crazy stuff about bats or something. I think it was a bass player, but he said holy bat, crude words. You're late to the party, Ivan. But yeah, I know there's a few people in watching, so it's up and down the numbers, but I'll play it through again, and if anyone has any questions, ask away, and if not, we'll finish up. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. Here is SuperSoaker.
suicide, and that I should run and hide. My back is broke from thinking I was better off by your side. They sniff formaldehyde. She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night. She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night. The world is better for it, better than I could have redesigned. I built a home for us to hide. Concrete walls between us, 1,000 miles of city skyline. I'll be thinking of you come rain or shine. She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night. She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night. You can see me if I can't see you. Even if I'm She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night. She hit me like a wave in the summer. She hit me like a wave in the night. In the night. In the night.
Okay, that was once again Super Soaker track leader. You can actually check that out on Spotify, and I'm not really sure any other platforms. There probably is iTunes and all the others. Oh yeah, and they're in TikTok and all that kind of stuff too. So you can check that tune out there and give them a like on Facebook and stuff. And thanks very much to the Super Soaker guys for letting me do this video and dissect their track and have a bit of crack with it. Once again, sorry to the guys that tuned in or were tuned in at 1 o'clock and the stream crapped out. Hopefully that won't happen again. Hopefully it's all sorted. Thank you very much for the people that watched and the people that are private messaging me stuff. But yeah, hopefully be back with another video similar to this or something similar soon. I know me and Graham will be back with another one as well. But thanks very much for watching, and I'm away to get a cup of tea. Oh, there he is. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck.